Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Rose Souza Richards, and I am the International Seed Federation Seed Health Manager. And I am here today to talk about a very important event who took place today at the DICF midterm meetings. We had an international dialogue on the tomato brown rugose fruit virus. And I have here with me today the chair of the coordination group of the ICF, Phyto, Mr. Michael Leader, and we also have here with me is Mr. Jack Metzler from Lima Grand Group. So we had just had a very intense day where we discussed things like new platform, collaboration, cooperation. It was really productive. We have so many interactions. So I would like to hear from you first, Marco. How did you feel that the day went with the discussions that we had?
Look, thanks very much, Rose. This was an experiment that we were trying, I think, as the ISF to really try and broaden our dialogue with national plant protection organisations and to use the experiences that we recently had over the last 4 or 5 years with the regulation of tomato brown rugose fruit virus on tomato and capsicum seed globally, the building up of that and the problems that we've been having in terms of our research and development pipeline and just getting seed to customers. And I was very impressed and happy that we managed to have some key NPPOs from the Commission, from China, from the US, from Israel, from Turkey, from the United Kingdom as well, and just to have, and from Italy as well, and Chile, to have all of these NPPOs turn up and be willing to share their stories and to listen to what we had to say as well, and to really try and work on what we can do in the future as well on this. It was very heartwarming. We had some very good researchers to provide the latest background on the disease as well. And the point of it was to really talk about and learn from these experiences for what we do if there is another disease that people want to regulate as their quarantine pest. I thought it was done in a very positive atmosphere. And we look forward to trying to maintain that dialogue and maybe working on some key issues going forward.
Thank you so much, Michael. So, Jack, for your side, what would you say? What was your two or three takeaways that would be that you feel that it was impactful, and we can take this forward and talk more inside internally so we can deliver the message?
Thank you, Rose. I think for me, one of the, let's say, important takebacks was that we also gave a platform for the NPPOs to communicate between each other. So it makes it possible for them. It made it possible for them to sit and look at seed-related issues and discuss the way they were working and the way they are working, but also doing it after being informed by the seed industry what the issues are which are really tackling or affecting the seed industry in day-to-day business. I mean, we talked about consistency in testing. We talked about the imports of samples for research or for destruction in laboratories. Those are important issues for the seed industry, and I think it also geared up the discussion to a much more practical level.
That's really good, because I also felt the same thing. I think that it really opened up that ability that we could exchange, that we felt it was positive to be able to exchange the information that we think is so important for our sector, but also for the representatives who are there with us. I think one of the things that I would like to touch base a little bit, Mike, if you allow me, is the biological relevance, because we did talk about this. It was discussed more than one time. It was something that we move away and came back again during the whole day. But this is so important. Can you just say a little bit about biological relevance and why this is important for the seed sector?
Yeah, thanks, Rose. I think what we were discussing at the meeting was really the problem. We did start by showing the NPPOs just all of the regulation on the brown rugose fruit virus that had happened currently, and I think we said there's the European Union, one region, and 29 countries that are regulating this around the world with 18 different combinations of requirements. And some of them are testing only, or lab tests are part of their import restrictions. And when we see that, and what we learned and we know is that there's a lot of different ways you can interpret a test result, and there are problems and differences between labs, and you may never actually get the same test, even the same test performed the same way in different labs due to the different kits they have, different people. But there is clear evidence that, in fact, just because you get a positive hit on some of those, is it biorelevant? Can it actually then cause disease? And I think there was a very good discussion about how can we work together to try and get to that next stage. How can we give confidence in NPPOs that, in fact, detection of something like that does not actually mean that it's a pest or threat or risk in that way. And I think there was some positive. We did go back to that in the last panel because we were thinking, what can we do going forward? What kind of platforms can we do to try and move forward when the next disease comes? And I think there was some agreement to really try and think further about using other technologies or newer technologies, or potentially exploring new bioequivalent or biorelevant protocols that maybe that could be combined and agreed to by NPPO, so that they could get more confidence in that piece and maybe reduce the way that they regulate in that piece. So I think that's where we got to today. There wasn't a final answer, but I really like the fact that there was willingness to consider this and as equivalent, and they always seem to be very open that if there are other alternatives for them to consider, that they would be prepared to do that. I think we did hear that today.
Yes, we did. And I think that you were spot on. But for me, it was like, wow, so we still have more work to do. We still needed to be able to do all this science and more knowledge. So Jack, see, we haven't done enough. We still need to do more.
I think one of the elements that also came out of the discussion, which might have been a surprise to some, is the fact that the seed industry already advanced quite a lot in developing intermediate resistant varieties. That is going to change the game again, not only for the seed industry and for our customers, but also to the regulators. What are we going to do? How are they going to treat the intermediate resistant varieties, or maybe in the future more resistant varieties, in order to make sure that the seed gets to the customer in time?
So if we're already doing all this work, so maybe what we need to be better is communication, already communicating much early. What do you think, Jack?
That me or Jack?
Right. Yeah, I think communication is key. It's really, and this is maybe the first time that we have this larger group come together between, let's say, the seed industry and regulators. And it already showed in this discussion that there was much more, I say, a dynamic atmosphere between the different parties. The next step will obviously be to see how can we treat emerging issues that are going to be of importance in the future between regulators and the seed industry.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Because this is not the first time we're going to have a virus like this, isn't it, Michael?
I think we heard that probably is indeed the case, Rose, today, and I think we did make some headway. We do have a lot of data, whether it's on some alternatives or to biorelevance, but also potentially on new diseases or observations. And there was talk about how can we find a safe platform like today, an ongoing platform we can share with experts in NPPOs the kind of experiences and the data that we've seen and what we're collecting in a safe environment. And I think the NPPOs may hopefully have seen that was a relatively safe environment today. And we have work to do, but we've got a lot of data and work already there. But we were pushed by the president of ISF. But what is the platform? What is the platform, and how do we continue that platform? And I think we started today, and I really like the Phytosanitary Committee to take that away, and as well, and working with Issue Veg on that piece, because how are we going to get that information, and what does that platform look like going forward? Because I think we can make progress.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. This platform was something that was one of the key outcomes that we believe that we needed to go and take forward. It doesn't mean that the platform is already created and we all have a structure. We still going to need to think, and we'll think internally. We think with the coordination group FITO to see how this can be going forward. I don't have an idea how this would be, but we heard so many different examples because the reality is we already collaborate in some countries. I think the idea is not a collaboration inside the country, but how to take this to the international level. So, Jack, how can you see already an immediate hurdle on this, or do you think now that there's going to be something that we can draw from the experiences that we already have?
No, I think it's not, I don't see hurdles, I see opportunities. And one of the opportunities is, let's say in the beginning, in the kickoff of the session, we had the Secretary General of IPPC make a presentation, and one of the, let's say, key messages there was, let's say on FAO level, the management is convinced that there has to be a way for private and public to work together. They're seeing the advantages of working together because private is, let's say, faster reacting than public in most cases, and that can really be an educational experience for public and also advance the messages that we want to bring forward much quicker. So there's support there, and that's a very good first step.
I agree with you. I think that this is going to be a great opportunity to advance it, not just us, but also working together with the different governments. But also we need to think about what the other stakeholders that we're working with, farmers. So we'll need to see how the platform is going to be developing. With that thought, and our favorite published subject, Michael, the systems approach. So systems approach, it has been seen as something that will be maybe long-term. So not as a platform, but maybe a proposal that they can support when there is an emergent threat or an emergent disease. Are we still committed? Are we still wanted to have systems approach implemented?
Oh, I think we heard today quite clearly that the seed industry is committed to making the systems approach work and work for small and large companies. And we had some really great presentations on, I think there was a lot of talk about the Swiss cheese model, but just what we do and how we stop, and mitigate risk throughout the production and processing practices on that. And that already contributes to mitigating risk and hearing whether that could be something that could help reduce the concern that governments may have in when they see a new pest coming out there. What we heard as well, importantly, is that this can actually stop new pests as well, because if it's coming through the same water, a new pest, and then you are already mitigating the water pathway, then you should be able to prevent or reduce the introduction and establishment of new pests as well. So we're definitely committed to that, and we really do hope that we can progress that with NPPOs at a multilateral level, as we were talking about. And we know there are this great cooperation, as you said, Rose, between government at a national level with industry, but it'd be great to get that further up the channel, I think.
Yes, and that's going to be the homework that we have now, is exactly how we can make this environment, this place that we can all come together to discuss different issues, not just today it was about the particular pest, but what is going to be the next one. It doesn't necessarily that we wanted to get together to be able to discuss and find the solutions together. And I think this is one of the bigger takeaways that I could say, that there is a places there. How my boss say, the scene is set, and now we can start to work. And I wanted to hear from you, Jack, if there is any further actions that you believe that we should be taking as a result of the dialogue that we had today.
Yes, I think one of the elements that came up, and it's a complicated subject, is the finding a way to have consistency and equivalency on in the testing protocols. One of the let's say more complicated issues for the seed industry is that we have to comply with very many different testing protocols. And of course, there's a reality behind that. We cannot judge and make comments on the choices made by NPPOs, but it would be really great going forward if we could have a dialogue on having a baseline for the testing protocols to say, look, we can at least have a certain level of equivalency between the testing protocols so that we can compare results between the different countries and tests. I think that would be a great step.
Exactly. So the harmonization to create that baseline, this is something we're going to need to work further. But the one thing that I wanted to touch base, Michael, is that equivalency measures, how important equivalency measures it is for us, how much we wanted to see the O when it comes to introduction of phytosanitary requirements. So this is something that we are very interested on. And can you please elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I think when we saw all of those requirements, and that there are some that actually allow for a pest-free place of production or a pest-free area or country free from, or alternatively a field inspection or a lab test, and may prescribe different lab tests or an NPPO prescribed lab test in the exporting country or something else. And I think a lot of countries and governments are seeming to go straight to lab tests now, prefer doing the lab test as the only way to regulate pathogens. And again, we would ISPM 38, the international standard for seed movement, would say that there is an opportunity to review, to actually issue and look at equivalent measures so that you could use one or the other. That provides the seed industry with flexibility. We saw today it may take, once a regulation comes in, that the seed was done 18 months ago as a minimum before. So it's very difficult to then start doing new requirements and to change your production and timeframes for customers at that time. So flexibility is important when you don't know necessarily where the countries are going, where you're going to, and all of those kind of things. So we do hope that can be something, but again, all of that is about confidence. It's about confidence in the technical capacity and in the seed chain. And I think that's what we've got to try and do as well, is try to help build that confidence. And we, in us as well as in our production systems, which may help to them to agree that other particular equivalent measures can be used. And we spoke about that in the Phytosanitary Committee or Coordination Group meeting again, and potentially doing some videos or further explaining to regulators just what seed production is about and the reality of seed movement.
Oh, that's right. Good point. So I have a question here from one of our people that is watching us. So Jack, what is your feeling about how long will it take to NPPOs to include bioassay as part of the protocol to conclude that TOBAV has a positive result? So as a confirmatory test.
Yeah, I think there we might still have a bit of a challenge ahead of us. I think there will be a necessity to discuss this in quite a lot of detail and maybe also I would say demonstrate that bioassays can do the job, let's say.
Michael, do you want to complement what Jack said? That it was your feeling as well, because that was my feeling. It was a little bit like we have some governments who are supportive, but we do have some governments that were not so quite supportive of the bioassay. So what is your general feeling?
Look, we did hear that there is problems and there are some concerns on the bioassay from an NPPO perspective, simply because it takes a long time and is expensive from a resource capacity point of view there for them, and they thought that for us it was a problem too, because it's a longer time frame to wait for seed to be tested. But again, why does it need to be onshore? And I think they understood that we actually use that not as a pre-screen. The PCR or other tests may be a pre-screen, and I think that was them starting to think, oh, okay, so it's not necessarily that long. And again, I think there was discussion about whether we're committed to putting some money in, or not money, but to actually pay for such a test. And I think we were clearly doing that if it gave us confidence to get seed around to places and it was harmonized. But Is it going to happen tomorrow? I don't think so, but it'll only happen as quickly as we are prepared to push it. I think we've got an opportunity now to look at what we can do. There was still a call for harmonized protocols of some sort, and I think this might be a good way to start, really.
I completely agree with you. If we're going to be working on the harmonization, that would be an opportunity for us to including a bioassay, because actually we know that we wanted to make sure that actually when there is a positive, it's a positive because there is a live pathogen that will cause disease, not one that it is not a viable one. So I think this was really interesting, because actually it's almost like we deliver some extra information to them, some extra very valuable information, because you're right, we take as a confirmatory test, not as a first test. So I agree with both of you. I think that it's not going to happen overnight. We have been already talking about bioassay, not since yesterday, but since a long time, and we'll continue talking about, because it is important for us all. I would like to get some last remarks from both of you. So Jack, for you, anything that you're going to take away today, and then you're going to be thinking through, and you'll come back and we'll have some internal discussion. Your final thought.
I think one element we have to start thinking about is are the, let's say, awareness campaigns that we can create with regard to what we as a seed industry are doing to mitigate and sometimes eradicate, if it's possible, and make sure that we have transparency on the methodology that we're using, on the let's say the ways in which we are making sure that we're sending healthy seeds to our customers. We have nothing to hide, but sometimes maybe in our, let's say, energy to take care of everything, we're not really transmitting the information to the different parties on what we're doing at this moment already to make sure that the seed that we're delivering is healthy and let's say good for our customers to use. Also because we have a direct interest to keep our customers profitable and happy. I think that's, for me, a main message.
Oh, a final thought from you?
Oh, look, Jack's right. Transparency is all what was there in order to build confidence, and not just one NPPO to a national seed association, but more broadly. And the coordination group has been thinking about how we do that, how we build that confidence, and how we get to those NPPOs. And I think we have to think about what that platform is, and that's the takeaway for me. We really have to do that, and we shouldn't be afraid, as Jack said, to discuss things and to talk and to share information that we have as well, and just what we can do about that. I think the big takeaway for me coming from there, and I really was pleased to see the Secretary General of the IPPC, the International Plant Protection Convention, come along to the opening session and also share his confidence and support in public-private partnerships to make this happen, because we're going to need seed. We're going to need seed in order to feed the world and to meet our sustainability goals. We're going to actually need seed that can actually address climate change, and so the research piece is going to be fundamental to that, and so we're going to have to solve this problem. And it seems like they all understand that, and so hopefully once we get the right platform, we can continue this going forward.
That's very much so what I felt as well. Both of you, I think, has really summarized what it was, the essence of the meeting today. And I'm really excited and looking forward that this is just the beginning of a long work that we're going to be taking forward, but one that will be for the benefit of all of us. And hopefully that will guarantee the predictable movement of seeds internationally, guaranteeing food security, because this is what we do. Our business is feeding people. Because when you arrive in the morning, when you have your breakfast, I can guarantee you, seed was the beginning of all of that food that you put it in. So thank you so much. So you, Michael Leader, for being here with us and for the support on this event organized by the SF with the coordination group fight. And thank you to you, Jack, as well, for being there and for all the support, giving the time. So it is with great pleasure that it is an honor for me to be working alongside both of you And with this, I would like to finish the session today and to say thank you so much to everybody who is watching us and participating. Thank you for the questions, and looking forward to see you all at the next time. Take care, everybody. See you the next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.